Hello, Andy.
Good day, sir. I haven't seen you in so long. I've missed you dearly.
Well, besides the podcast that we just recorded with Obi,
What the heck,
which
man?
everybody should check out.
Dude, I changed shirts.
Oh, you
Because I wanted to
did?
make it appear that we didn't just do. And by the way, the the
Okay.
Obi one's gonna come out next because the
Okay.
shutdown needs to be talked about now. So that one's coming out like ASAP. Obi's coming out in a couple days. So for everybody, we had a special guest, someone who's in local politics, and it was a great episode, in my opinion, a good conversation. Um, so pay attention. That will be coming out in the next few days.
Yeah, and like and subscribe. Share it with your
Everybody,
friends.
yeah. We need to monetize this. I thought after just a few months of podcasting, we'd be famous, we'd have a lot of money, and girls would be just throwing themselves at us. And for some reason, it hasn't happened, and it's very upsetting to me.
Yeah.
Like when you buy a lottery ticket and like you buy it and you're like, I'm not gonna win, but then you go home, and how about you? Do you buy them often or not?
I would like once, twice a month,
Okay,
maybe.
whenever it gets to be a real big jackpot where everybody's talking about it, that's the only time I buy. I buy a quick pick, and I normally do like one set of my numbers, and I walk out of there like, that was stupid. And then I get home and I can't help but starting to fantasize about like if I won the
Yeah.
lottery, like I would buy this kind of house and I would have a house here and a house there. And then by the time the drawing happens and I don't win, I'm crushed. And it's like, why? Why did I allow myself to start fantasizing about that?
No, I know that I'm not gonna win. I just do it because I like the fantasizing aspect of it. Like I like buying it like 4 days in advance, and I'm just like, yeah, if I win, I'm gonna
Yep.
do this, and I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna travel all over the place. I'm not gonna even need a house. I'm just gonna travel
Oh
all
no.
the time. Like,
I'm gonna have two or three houses, and yeah, it's gonna be fantastic. I read an article the other day that was like, if you win the lottery before you come forward, here's 10 things you need to do, and it was like set up an LLC and
yeah.
all these things to where you protect yourself and protect yourself from scam artists and this and that. And it sounds like it's a lot of work, but I would happily do
So
it for.
here's my newest thought on the lottery is what I want to do is I want to say fuck you to BlackRock and all these big organizations who are buying up homes, and
Okay.
I want to buy like an apartment complex or like a giant set of like duplexes and just in like a low income area and just rent them dirt cheap to like teachers and firefighters and
Yeah.
like people who need it, and kind of just an FU to BlackRock. And yeah,
I'm just
that's
gonna
kind of
say,
my
with
thought.
however, even if you won like the big jackpot, like I appreciate what you're saying you would do, but it wouldn't really affect them at all. Like you wouldn't be able to. You'd have to have trillions of dollars to really do anything to upset them. Is
Yeah,
all
but
I'm
if I
saying.
did that and then I went on podcast and I kind of explained what I was doing, maybe somebody else might
You have
do
to
the
get
same
other.
thing.
You have the
Yeah,
Republican point of view of like, let's get all the billionaires to help us. The billionaires aren't here to help us, man. Like
you're right.
I had a talk with a buddy last night where he was like, I don't know. I think that like, and I had to explain to him. I was like, dude, I was like, if you think that the billionaires are jumping on board with the Trump train because they're trying to help the lower and middle class, like I don't have to tell you, man. Like they're clearly out for like more money and power. Like
Yeah.
this is a fantasy that the billionaires are coming to help us. If they wanted to help us, they could be philanthropic with their money and donate it to some good causes, but they ain't doing that. They're having a race to see who can be the richest.
Speaking of, I sent you two videos recently talking about oh, what is it? The like the system that we're living in where the rich keep getting rich, the robber
Yeah.
barons and the yeah, and what do you think about all that?
I mean, it's a problem. Here's the thing is like the wealth gap, I think is what it's called. The
Mhm.
income inequality gap, whatever they call it. Like that's a problem. We looked at that thing a couple episodes ago, that chart you showed where, how much the top 1% own versus the bottom 80% or whatever. I can't remember
Oh
the
yeah.
exact numbers, but like it's a huge problem. And the easy way to fix it would be higher taxes on the rich. But then the right starts screaming about redistribution of money and like they turn it into like, oh, we're going capitalist. And it's like, well, no, but this trend cannot
Capitalists
continue.
going
I,
communist.
I I'll tell you this. I want to work it out in my head before we really talk about it. But like the billionaires would be smart to pay a little bit more in taxes to give a little bit back to ensure their survival. And I don't want to sound like cryptic about this, but like eventually the only way countries go into like communist revolutions is when like the majority of the people don't have enough to get by. Like they can't, now they're desperate and they turn on the billionaire class, the oligarchs. And like they should see that coming and go, hey, you know what? Let's give a little bit back just to keep the sheep happy, just keep them happy enough to where they don't revolt. Because the trend that it's going on right now, like eventually we're going to hit that point where 80% of America can't make ends meet, and that's when they're going to overthrow the government and institute something that's very similar to communism.
Well, no, and that's what they do. And that's what they are doing right now is they're giving us just enough to keep us from revolting,
I,
right?
I think
And
they've
they're
got
they're trying to go as far as they possibly can
they're pushing the line.
before we revolt, right? And they're pushing that line. And I think
Mhm.
with Elon and all this,
I think it's
Vivek,
about to go. I think they're about to go a bit too far. Like the Elon Trump relationship, I think is dangerously close to like running its course already. Have you seen all the posts that people are making on the left where it's Elon controlling the puppet? He's
Elon's the president, President
Yeah,
Elon.
Trump is seeing all that because like three different Republicans came out today and made speeches that were basically just like, "Hey, just so you know, President Trump said jump and we said how high. Like we all follow him. We don't follow Musk." Like that was the tone of all their speeches. But they had to do that to go out to reassure him because Trump is seeing that. And no relationship with Trump has ever lasted. Like it doesn't matter how loyal it is, there's a point where he's going to turn on you. Um,
Yeah.
I said this about who was it? It was Rogan. I a while back, months ago, when Rogan. Remember, there was a short day or two where Trump was talking shit about Rogan, and it was kind of a thing. And I said
Mhm.
maybe Rogan's the one guy that like if he made a stand against Trump, like the right would kind of back Rogan, and it turned out not to be the case. Trump had power over him. I don't like Elon, but it makes me wonder, like, if Elon and Trump get into a pissing war, like, and they're bad talking, like tweeting at each other and talking shit,
Uh-huh.
like, do you think Elon stands a chance, or does Trump just steamroll him? Elon's got Twitter. He controls Twitter. It makes me
No,
wonder.
Trump has the power. I don't
He
think
does?
Elon has. Yeah, I don't. I
Okay.
think if Elon ran for president, I don't think he would get. I don't think he'd
Yeah.
win.
I don't know. It's going to be interesting, but at some point they're going to have a breakup, and there's like a 10% chance that it could be like an amicable breakup where like Elon just goes back to doing Starlink and SpaceX and all that, and they just kind of stop talking, or it's going to be a nasty one where like Trump's tweeting shit at him. I think there's a 90% chance it's a nasty one, and like I'm kind of looking forward to that. Like that's going to be funny
Yeah.
when it happens.
I think it's gonna be quick. I think as soon as Trump actually takes office and like gets, and he's already kind of started like pushing. Like I think the Doge thing is just kind of because it doesn't have any power,
Well,
and like I think he just kind of gave it to him, and it's gonna be like an advisory board. Here, we want to do this, and Trump's just gonna be like, yeah, 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 okay, whatever.
Well, and
Um,
it appears with this budget because Mike Johnson's been talking to Trump. He's the Speaker of the House. He's been talking to Trump. Mike Johnson. This is what I don't get is Mike Johnson and Elon and Trump and Vance were all at the same event this weekend. They were like in a booth at a football game this weekend. You think they would have talked about the budget bill that they're about to pass, the continuing resolution? You think that would have come up? Apparently, it didn't. I don't know, but like all of a sudden on Wednesday of this week, Elon comes out and says like they better not vote for this bill. If they vote for this bill, I'm going to primary them. That kind of stuff, and basically kills it. And it took a day for Trump to then jump on board and be like, yeah, let's take some stuff out of this. And again, this was a bill that Mike Johnson had been working on for a while and finally got it to where they had the votes to get it through. Elon steps in, throws a landmine in. Um, the only thing that Trump asked for in this, Elon asked for a lot, and he got a lot. Real quick, they ended up taking out what was it? Research for child cancer, lower drug prices, research for sickle cell disease, research for breast cancer early detection, a bill about
what?
hotel junk fees. These were all the things that got stripped out. Everything else pretty much stayed the same. They stripped out what they called a bunch of people's pet projects, which were all these things I'm listing. The one
Well,
major
they all
one,
seem like things that we should have.
the one major one was that there was a ban on high tech investment in China. So Elon right now is working on some kind of Tesla AI thing that he's going to roll out in China. And that, if that
Oh,
would have been in the bill, it would have said basically that Elon couldn't have done that. And he stands to make a lot of money from rolling this out in China. So a lot of
mm,
people think that Elon was really targeting that. But if he would have just asked for that, it would have been obvious. So he had to ask for a lot, and that was in there. But that was the main thing that Elon did not want to pass, and he got it pulled out. So Elon got most of what he wanted. Trump only asked for one thing, hypocritical as shit, and we'll talk about this in a second. But Trump said that he wanted the debt ceiling to be suspended for 2 years
yeah.
until January of 2027. So after the next midterms, he wanted it suspended. And that is the only thing that wasn't in this bill. They did not do that. So Trump did not get what he wanted, and Elon got like eight things that he wanted. And this is already being
Why?
framed.
Hold on. Why did they get rid of research for child cancer?
I, because it was money that we don't need to be spending. I don't know
Oh, we
that
don't
I'm
want to spend money on our children, but we're gonna
so
have more children without these abortion ban.
I don't
And
know. They want to cut the budget, and that's pork that they think is not necessary to spend on. I can't agree with it. I'm just telling you what they say. Like
I
that's
know.
the reasoning is it's money we don't need to be spending. We don't have it. We can't spend it. It'd be nice if we could research cancer. We ain't got the money. That's their
Mm.
line. I'm not saying I
Mhm.
agree. Um,
Yeah, let's
so
not cure.
real quick to back us up on how we got here, because for those not paying attention this week, we were barreling. I love it. You know how the news makes everything so dramatic. I was about to say we were barreling towards a shutdown. I've heard that on the news so
Like
much.
every 4 years.
We're heading towards the cliff or whatever it is. But yeah, we were heading towards a shutdown. Um, they got a bill worked out on Wednesday, and they announced they had a bill, and both sides agreed on it, and it was going to pass. And then Elon steps in and ruins it. Uh, the next day, Republicans negotiated only with themselves. They refused to let Democrats into the negotiations, and they were vocal about that. They said, "We're not negotiating with the Democrats. We're doing our own bill." They did it. Trump said, "Everybody vote for this." Elon said, "Everybody vote for this." And 38 Republicans in the House said, "No, we're not voting for this. Not doing it." So we have the Senate that has kind of barely stood up to Trump, and then we had 38 Republicans in the House that Trump told them directly to vote for this, and they said no. Now they voted for it because they thought it wasn't Republican enough. They want
Oh,
more stuff slashed, but either way, they didn't vote for something that Trump said to vote for. So that's a sign right there.
okay.
Um,
Well,
then
here's my thought on that too is like, and this goes into Elon. Elon stepping on the toes of the senators, and this is
mhm.
the senators. This is their house, right?
Yeah.
This is our lane. You need to take a step
Well,
back. And I think
right now he's doing it to the congressman in the House. This hasn't even gotten to this. The Senate's been pretty out of this, so
yeah,
they're supposed to vote on tonight. We haven't officially avoided a shutdown yet. The Senate still has to vote on it, and then Biden has to sign it, and that all has to happen tonight, and that hasn't happened yet. So by the time this comes out, it probably hopefully will have happened. But right now, he's just going after the House. The House is easier to bully. House is up for reelection every 2 years. Every member every 2 years reelection. So as soon as they get elected, they're almost immediately starting their campaign for reelection every time. It's why the House is such a shit show. The
yeah.
Senate is every 6 years. So once you get in for about 4.5 years, you can kind of do what you want, and then you got to start worrying about getting reelected. So it's nice. I'm trying to think here right now, Republicans, and this is what's great, is Republicans have had a small margin in Congress for the last while. They had a 5 seat majority, so they couldn't get anything passed because there was always at least 5 Republicans that were not willing to vote on shit. Um,
Right.
they were going to have a 5 seat majority this time. They're going to lose 3 people because Trump has named 3 congressmen to be positions in his cabinet. One of them's an ambassador. I can't remember what all they are. So when we get to the
And Matt
next
Gaetz.
Congress, Matt Gaetz dropped out, so he's one of the 3. Um, when we get to the next Congress, it's going to be 217 to 215. Republicans are going to have a 2 seat advantage. So it only takes 2 Republicans to say no and fuck things up. And I don't think a lot's going to get passed. What people are mad right now because the Democrats are spinning this as they won this fight. Like they got most of what they wanted. They bailed the Republicans out. In the vote tonight that actually got passed, every Democrat voted yes. And I think there was like 60 Republicans that didn't vote yes. So way more Democrats voted for this bill than Republicans. So they're claiming they kind of saved the country and whatnot as their spin. But this is only till March. This is a continuing resolution till March. And now the next fight is going to be from what Democrats are saying, they're not stepping in to help. They're not going to give a single vote. Republicans, you need to figure this out. If you can't, there's going to be a government shutdown on Trump's watch, and Republicans will have the House, the Senate, and the presidency. So it's on you. We're not, this is the
Oh,
last time we're helping you, is what they're
so
saying.
the Democrats are going to let the government shut down?
Apparently, unless they get what they want, which the Republicans are going to try to
Oh,
come at it from a you're not getting anything. Like, we don't even have to talk to you. We'll see.
yeah.
I don't,
Interesting.
because Mike Johnson's not going to be the Speaker of the House. He's going to get voted out. They're doing a new Speaker vote in like 2 weeks, and Mike Johnson is not going to be the Speaker. And they're going to put in a hardliner, like someone like Marge. I don't think it's going to be Marge, but it's going to be someone who's totally willing to kiss Trump's ass. Side note:
Word.
People are saying Elon should be Speaker of the House because you do not have to
Yeah.
be a member to be the Speaker. I don't think Elon wants to do that. I don't think he wants to waste the time. But you know who? Nobody's really talking about it yet. I won't be shocked if suddenly we start hearing Vivek Ramaswamy for Speaker of the House because he ain't doing shit. I don't know what his job is, but he's just hanging out in D.C.
Oh, he's in charge of Doge.
We could very well see Vivek Ramaswamy as the Speaker of the House. So keep your eye on that. That's not being talked about yet, but I think that we're heading that way.
Do they have to have hearings to be the Speaker of the House?
They have a vote behind closed doors.
Just to vote? Okay.
Yep. Because it's
Int-
it ends up going to a full vote in the House, but since the Republicans own 217 of the 200 or 432, it's going to be they have to do is have a kind of a closed door vote, and the rule is, and this isn't a rule, but it's a rule within the conference is, hey, we're going to have our own little vote, and whoever wins, all 217 of us are going to go out there and vote for that person. If your butt hurt because your guy didn't win, too bad. We're coming out here and we're all voting for the person that won.
Yeah, but that didn't happen last time. It was a huge shit show. Remember they did like 18 different votes or something?
Yeah, because McCarthy won, and then so it was after McCarthy. It was Mike John, or sorry, McCarthy got a no confidence vote, and then he tried to win 3 or 4 times, and then they went to 3 or 4 different people. Jim Jordan had a shot at it,
Yeah.
and then finally Mike Johnson was the one. But that was because they had such a slim majority, and you had Marge and Gates. Gates was a big one that was screwing up the whole thing. He's out now.
Mm.
But there's people like Thomas Massey that are going to want a hard line pro Trump person, and they're going to be pissed if they don't get it.
Yeah.
It's going to be interesting. And what the House always forgets is anything they pass has to get through the Senate. As soon as we cross into the next Senate, it's going to be 53 to 47. The Republicans have 53 seats. So anything that's going to pass, they have to get 7 Democrats to say yes because it's a 60 vote threshold. So if you pass it out of the House, you have to make it a little left leaning to get enough to get 7 senators. And they're not going to do
Mm.
that. They're going to keep passing shit that has no chance of getting through the Senate and it'll die. Republicans do a terrible job of governing. They do a great job of complaining. When they're the party out of power, they throw fits and they bitch and they point out everything that's going wrong. But when they get power, they can't get anything through. And that. I think we're going to have a very uneventful 2 years where like there's going to be a lot of headlines, but nothing of consequence is going to get passed legislatively. I'll be shocked if it does. Tax cuts is
Thank
the
you.
one thing. Tax cuts is the one thing but that's the reason Trump needed the debt ceiling raised. He needed because his tax cuts are going to raise our debt big time. So he was hoping they would suspend the debt ceiling for 2 years so that he could just do his tax cuts and nobody would even talk about the debt ceiling. Now the debt
Yeah.
ceiling is going to be a big part of the tax cuts. So they're going to have to raise the debt ceiling to do the tax
But he
cuts.
also ran on not raising the deficit.
Oh, they're gonna big time. Like this whole Doge and this whole thing about they're gonna cut 200 trillion or what I can't remember. It's some big number. They're gonna cut a bunch in the next 2 years. Like I will give you a lot of money if in 2 years we're sitting here and it's like, holy shit, they did it. Like they cut the budget. Wow. No, they're gonna try to cut just enough to offset the tax cuts. That's their goal. They want to cut Social Security, Medicaid, and create enough room to give the tax cuts and not totally blow up the debt by giving. Because if they do the tax cuts just as is, the deficit's going to get like way more. It's already out of control, but it's going to be a lot worse. So they need to cut enough spending to afford the tax cuts. It's great, and they won't touch like military spending is not going to get touched. Like they're going to, especially with Elon
Of
in
course.
charge, Elon's going to make sure he's still getting his government contracts. So we're not going to touch
Oh yeah.
military, Social Security, Medicaid, the post office. Um, Food stamps and shit like that. So
Post office is a sad one. That one's gonna go. I don't
yeah,
think we're post office anymore.
nobody understands how like that's really just going to hurt like old white people that live in rural areas. Like it's not going to hurt people that live in the city as much at all. Like old white people
Yeah.
that live in rural areas are the one, and those are
Well,
MAGA.
no, but who's gonna deliver our mail? I mean,
It's Amazon or somebody like that. It's going to trust me. It's
I
if
mean, if I send a letter to somebody, like a postcard, like
yeah,
who's like that's all post office,
I'm
right?
telling you, somebody's going to get the contract because it's going to become a government contract.
Right.
I there's a weird. Everybody's talking about oligarchs right now, like Bernie
No,
Sanders is
but
street.
they want to publicize it. They don't want it private anymore.
Yeah,
It's not gonna
they want to privatize it is what they're doing. Right now it's
private. Yeah,
public. They want to privatize it. So it's gonna go out for bids and one person's gonna win the contract to like handle our US mail.
that's that's still public
No,
if it's a bid.
I'm telling you, that's how it's gonna go.
I feel like
Somebody
they're just I think they're just gonna get rid of the post office and they want like FedEx and UPS to like fight over, rates and whatever and figure out who's gonna be the top dog of who's sending all the letters.
they're gonna turn
But
it
then
into
like I have a PO box,
yeah.
so what's gonna happen to that? I don't have a mailbox. I have
Amazon
a
or
P
some company like that is gonna service your PO box. So,
Oh, they're gonna take
and there's
over
no
the.
way the government's just going to give it away. They're going to make money off it. They're going to do bids. They're going to award it
Oh,
as a contract. I'm telling you, they're going to sell the rights to who can do our mail. Okay,
mm,
that's how this is going to work out. Um,
gee.
the whole thing that happened, like, Bernie right now is bitching about oligarchs and whatnot, and it's alarmingly true. Like if you look at like in the 90s, it was Gorbachev. Who was after Gorbachev? I can't remember who it was. Whoever was after Gorbachev, when he left power in Russia and gave power to Putin, uh, Putin did a really smart thing where he gave a lot of billionaires, like he gave one of them the gas industry, and he gave the other one the newspaper industry, and he made them very powerful, but they were all on his side and agreed to like help him and basically support him through whatever ways they could. And if they didn't live up to what he wanted, then suddenly they fell out of a window. So many people keep falling out of windows in Russia and dying. Um,
Crazy.
but that's kind of where we're heading is like Bezos is going to get like the mail system. Musk is going to get our whole space system. Like we're going to have a bunch of billionaires. They're going to privatize as much of the government as they can, and these billionaires are going to get way richer. Like, if Bezos gets the mail contract, like he's going to find a way to profit at like hell out of that.
All right.
So we totally are moving. Like if Trump succeeds at everything he wants to do, like we're going to create a bunch of oligarchs. There's going to be a bunch of
Oh,
people that privatize these systems, and we're heading that way. Like that's the goal. Isn't it exciting?
no,
Yeah.
no, not at
I'm
all.
telling you, I'm going to send you. There's a Netflix documentary that's called Turning Point, The Bomb in the Cold War. And it's great. But like episode 5 covers like the transition that Russia made from communism to like oligarchy. And
Yeah.
if you watch it and then you take a look at what's happening now in America, you're like, oh shit, like we're following
Same.
the same playbook. Like this is awesome. And that's where I think that you could make the argument that Trump looks at the setup Putin has and he's like, oh man, he's got it great over there.
Yeah.
I think he would love to create that system here. And
Oh, for sure.
Republicans would hate for me to say that, but I mean, that's what my
Well,
eyes see.
how long has Putin been in power?
Since 99, I believe. So 25
Okay.
years.
Interesting.
Yeah. And
At
that's
least Trump's not. At least Trump's not a spring chicken.
Yeah, no, but that's the thing with Putin, where Putin has gotten greedy with it, is he's told all these oligarchs like, hey, basically, I could have you thrown in jail, or because he had a couple of them thrown in jail, um, but he threw a couple of them in jail to show the other ones like, hey, this is what I'm capable of. You need to start paying me under the table. And now Putin gets like a skim off the top from all the oligarchs, and they say that Putin could be the richest man in the world, but we don't know because he doesn't have to tell us how much he has.
Mm,
But that's
mm,
how Putin supposedly has so much money is that he basically has them scared to the point where it's like you got to pay him. It's kind of like the mafia. You got to pay him it's like royalties, like a protection fee. I don't know what the right word is, but
yeah.
that's the
Well,
system they have.
the scariest part to me is like right now, all like Joe and Mika, like, and all these, even I've seen a few CNN people talk
Mhm.
good about Trump. Like, oh yeah, Trump
They're
did.
they're
It's like,
acquiescing, like they're bending the knee, they're kissing the ass. And I said this as soon as he won. I said some countries towards the end of the last Trump term figured out how to handle Trump because at first they were all trying to fight him, and then Macron with France was the first one that realized like, oh, just kiss this guy's ass. If you kiss his ass and you tell him you like him, he'll do
yeah.
stuff for you. And they all started to figure that out. And it's funny because you're seeing now they've all gone straight to that. Like nobody's trying to fight Trump. And it sucks because it's kind of like, hey, stand up for yourself. But also, it's like, no, all you got to do is go flatter him, and then he'll back off of whatever he's trying to demand, or he'll help you out. Whatever it is you're trying to get out of him,
Yeah, but
that
that's not the news. That's not the news. Like, how can we trust the news if they're going to do that?
they want access. They want to be able to interview Trump, and you have to kiss his ass, and you can interview him.
Yeah.
They
So
shouldn't do it.
he owns the media.
Yeah, they shouldn't do it, but he has them, and also like ratings are tanking for a lot of liberal like mainstream media. So they're like, oh
Hmm.
shit, like they're trying, they got to change course and try something. They need to try to be a little bit more Fox Newsy because MSNBC, for example, is crashing and burning right now. So
This is a nightmare, Andy.
yeah, I'm
We're going to be like North Korea media at this point.
yeah. Uh, the only thing that's going to save us right now is that YouTube is so popular and you have a lot of
Yeah.
voices on YouTube. And unless, and I don't think he's going to do it, but if at some point, if Trump made a move to somehow censor people on YouTube or you can't speak bad about him, then we're in trouble. But like,
Yeah.
I don't think all the YouTube stars that do like Trump, I don't think they'd stand for that. I'm praying on that. So we have
Yeah.
independent media that hopefully enough people are watching is all I'll say. So yeah,
Yeah,
it's, I
that's the
mean,
scariest thing.
I tell you what, I agree with you that it's scary and we're fucked. But I've just decided that my mentality is going to be like, instead of panic, it's going to be like, I want some popcorn to sit here and enjoy the show because this is going to be a fucking disaster, and I'm going to sit here and watch it with a smile because I can't afford to let myself stress for the next 4 years. So
Yeah.
I'm just here to watch a show, buddy. Like what happened this week with the budget, and they passed a continuing resolution. What's hysterical is we are still under the same budget that Nancy Pelosi did in 2022. They haven't come up. Republicans never came up with a new budget in 2 years of control. They just kept doing a continuing resolution after
Mhm.
continuing resolution. So we're still on a Pelosi spending level right now, and I'll bet money that they're going to do several more continuing resolutions before they try to do a budget. Like the one in March, they're not even going to try to do a budget. They're going to do another. They're going to do another CR and kick the can down the road. And
So they have to kind of write a whole bill for spending, right?
yeah,
Okay.
and
To
they have to write it in a way where they're going to get 7 Democrats in the Senate to vote for it, and they don't. The House isn't smart enough to realize that in advance, so they're going to pass several of them right off the bat. That it's like as soon as it's passed, it's like there's no way the Senate's going to pass that at all. So go
yeah.
back and try again, and they're going to keep doing that. And then maybe at some point they'll try to pass one, or they'll try to pass one in the House that 7 Democrats will vote for. But
Huh.
that's where
Interesting.
we're heading. So, and really, like I said, I think they're going to get the first time Trump was in office, the only thing they passed was tax cuts. So they got that through. That's the only thing they're going to get through this time. So it's going to kill the national debt, which is my biggest thing. But other than that, I don't see them passing a lot else. I'll be shocked if they pass anything else of consequence. It'll be a lot of executive orders. Like Trump will have three and
Yeah.
a half years of a lot of executive orders. And then the next president that comes in, if it's not a Republican, they will immediately cancel all those on day one and they'll be gone. So it'll be 3.5 years of pain. Uh,
So just a stalemate, basically.
I mean, typically under a Republican administration recently, that's kind of what it is. Like nothing gets passed, which they look at that as a win because they think that there's too many laws, too many regulations. So like if they just don't pass anything, that's better than passing a bunch of shit. Like that's the way they look at it.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So
Too many laws, but the laws that they want, like marijuana, they go gung ho at it.
right now,
Marijuana,
I don't
no
know if you've seen,
abortions.
we're kind of regressing in the marijuana movement. Like certain states that have like good laws on marijuana are now thinking about repealing those and going back to no medical marijuana and stuff. Like we're kind of in a reversal. So
Well,
we'll
Florida did that, right?
Florida voted no on it, but that's because they made it. It had to be 67% of the vote to pass, and like only like 58% or something. I can't remember. I can't remember the numbers
What
exactly, but
what other states are trying to regress that?
several. Texas is one of them, and Texas has like very tight medical marijuana right now. Like there is medical, but it's not one of those where anybody can get it. But they're trying to do it. Oklahoma's talking about it. Um, they're doing it.
Well, the
So
people voted for that, right? They voted for the medical.
in Texas, I don't know. I don't think so.
And so who's trying to get rid of it? I mean, how did it get passed and then who's trying to get rid of it now? Like
I don't think anything's been passed yet. They're trying to get like it's a growing movement in the Texas House that they're trying
the
to do something.
medical.
Yeah, they're trying to do it with all marijuana. So
But initially, how did they get medical
I don't
legalized
think it
in
was voted
Texas?
on. I don't think it was voted on. I think probably the House or Senate in Texas passed it. And in every state, that's how it happens. So
Okay,
there's
gotcha.
very few states where it was a public referendum. Oklahoma is supposed to have a public referendum again in like 3 or 4 years. We just had one and it failed. Uh,
Colorado was public referendum. Like I know Missouri was, Florida
Washington
was.
State was. I think there's a
Yeah,
handful of them, but it's not. I mean, it's under 10 out of 50 have done like a public referendum and passed it that way.
really? Okay.
Yeah, I
I thought
believe.
that's how they all passed through. Okay.
I believe. I'm not sure on that. So, and a lot of
Okay.
states just decriminalized it. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
No, that makes sense.
So, anyhow, the stock market has been down for 17 straight days ever since Trump. It was about when Trump did that threat to Mexico and Canada about the tariffs. The
Yep.
stock market started tanking, which it's common sense, but the stocks are going to hurt the economy, or the tariffs are going to hurt the economy. So,
Yep.
but what's funny is today we finally had our first positive day where they bounced back a little bit. So we
Yeah.
didn't continue to lose today, and they're saying that that's two things. One, we had more good inflation numbers come in. Inflation's still
Yep.
cooling, so that's good. And the other thing is apparently people are going around behind the scenes. The guy that's going to be Trump's I can't remember the term, but he's the one that's going to be like running the economy, whatever that job is. He's been going around telling everybody like, "Hey, we're not really going to do the tariffs. The tariffs are not happening," and that's calming people down. So we'll see. It goes back real quick to my favorite thing about Trump is when people are like, I like him because he does, promises made, promises kept. He does what he says and he
Yeah.
says what he means. And then there's also people who are like, oh, Trump doesn't really mean that. For most of the bad things, they're like, he's
It's
just
the same
saying
people
that.
that say the same the different thing. Yeah.
Exactly. It's like, is he just saying that or does he mean everything he says? Because that's what's confusing me about this. But um, yeah, that's where we're at. So no shutdown, it looks like, assuming everybody follows suit tonight, the Senate and the House, or the Senate and the President sign. But yeah, get ready. March is going to be a fun shut. I think we're definitely going to have a shutdown for a couple days in March, and then they'll do another continuing resolution.
Yeah, remember the last shutdown when like the state parks, the trash cans were overflowing
Mhm.
and the toilets were out of commission
Yep.
and like,
That's that.
yeah.
That's the longest shutdown in history, and that was when Trump was president.
Oh
So
yeah, that's right.
yeah.
Okay.
So he owns the
Man.
longest shutdown in history. He's had the government shut down a couple times on him. He's not afraid to do it again. So
It probably uh
enthusiastically,
yeah, his base gets enthusiastic about it.
yeah,
Yeah, shut the
good.
government up. We don't
Yeah,
need the government. Yeah.
exactly. So that's where we're at. I think that's about it. You got anything else for tonight?
No, I think that's it. I mean, I feel like I really haven't been I've been paying attention to the news, but not that much. There's not a lot going on besides Trump saying a lot of bullshit and
Yeah.
I keep seeing this headline like Biden had like I don't know, his health is coming out, but I don't know. I didn't
There
look
was
into
the
it.
guy James O'Keefe that used to run Project Veritas. I can't remember what his company now, but he's a guy that does the hidden camera undercover type stuff where he's like, I got a CNN employee to say bad things about Trump or whatever it is. And it was somebody who he framed it as like high level national security guy says that Biden's health is failing. But then it
Oh,
turns out it was like a guy who works for a guy who works for the security guys or whatever. Anyhow, and he was on it. They always bait these guys with hot chicks. So they had a hot chick with like a hidden camera in her purse at a bar drinking, and he
oh.
basically said like, yeah, I think Biden's going to be dead in the next year. Like he's failing fast, which that might be true. Like I mean he's going down. I think we all agree since the debate like he's going downhill in a hurry. That's how it generally goes. So if Biden's dead in the next year, I'm not going to be shocked.
Well, I think after like 40, your health, or maybe even 30, your health is just slowly
Yeah, but it,
declining.
it feels like it goes fast right at the very end. Like it
Yeah.
suddenly, and I feel like Biden's in that stage. We're like, oh, he's getting
Yeah.
older quick. So, but
Okay, I do have a question for you.
Okay.
How do you think Trump is going to die, and how long do you give him?
So I think he's going to die unexpectedly, like quicker than people think. People are going to be like, well, he was 82, but he was still like really, active and energetic and all that. Like
No, he's not active.
randomly one morning, Trump's going to be dead of a heart attack, and people are going to be
Yeah.
like, how? And it's going to be like the man ate cheeseburger, McDonald's cheeseburgers and
Yeah.
Kentucky Fried Chicken and drank Diet Coke all day long. What do you mean, how? Like
Yeah.
the fact that he's lived and he doesn't believe in exercise, like that. When he dies, there's going to be conspiracy theories about if somebody like murder, if was it really a heart attack?
Poisoning him. Yeah.
Yeah, no, it was his terrible lifestyle for his whole life is what did it.
And
So
he's 80. He's in his 80s.
yeah, so when he gets done being president, he'll be older than Biden is now. So that's what we're heading for. Yeah, so I don't think we're gonna watch Trump go downhill slowly. Trump's gonna be one of those where like he went to bed one night and had a heart attack and died, and that's yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Yep. Yep.
all
Well,
right.
I'm glad that Elon is our president now. That's all I gotta say.
Like I said, if they keep that up, Elon will be gone pretty quick because Trump's not going to
Yeah.
tolerate that shit.
I'm
So
gonna keep saying it. Yeah,
I love
President
it.
Elon.
Yep. So, all right, man, let's do this again soon. Everybody, don't forget, we've got a great episode coming out in a couple days with Obi. How do you say his last name?
Zadi.
Yeah, yeah, that's not right. I don't know what the right way is. Azade. Obi Azade.
Zadi.
Maybe?
Yeah.
Sounds right. Yeah.
Yep.
So everybody watch that. So, all right. Good to talk to you, Docs.
All right, brother. Have a good night.
Later.